this fucking mag out of my gun. I got him! Holy shit! I'm about to shoot through the window. I'm not reaching. What?
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at the VFC gas blowback Mark 17, also known as the SCAR 8. Before we get into the full review, how I acquired this weapon, I bought it through e-bike with my own means. For those of you who watch my channel, you know that I like to run gas blowback rifles. This was something different to my collection. I was looking for a 7.62 platform. I didn't want anything WeTech because I've had issues with them in the past. Coming along, VFC does not have a lot of things in the American market. However, I did come across this one and find it intriguing as it grabbed my attention. As you've noticed, I have changed out some of the furniture and a couple of the internal parts. However, I have had this rifle for the last 6 months and I've ran it at multiple games with different weather conditions. So I will be able to give at least my opinion and experience with this compared to other gas blowback rifles and some things to take in mind when you buy this rifle. Before we get into my actual opinion, I'll just go over the straight stats for this rifle. Unloaded, it weighs 7.5 pounds. Loaded, in its current configuration, it's about 8.4 pounds. It's a little bit lighter than a fully loaded. It's almost there in weight. It's comparable, but it's also not a very extremely heavy rifle. It will catch you off guard how light these are, and that's comparable to an actual SCAR. The inner barrel length of the stock inner barrel is going to be 363 millimeters. And it's, from what I can tell, it's just a standard 6.05 millimeter barrel. It's not the tightest thing in the world, but with this you get a lot of range out of it stock. All of your plastic components, your stock, your lower receiver, anything that's plastic on here, and then the stock A2 grip it comes with. As you can see, I changed out this grip. It's going to be injected molded polymer, and any of the metal, your upper receiver, all of your trigger controls, your trigger group, and any of your fire controls is going to be CNC'd aluminum. It has full ambi controls. You have safe, semi, auto, and then as well on the other side you have safe, semi, auto. It's just on the right side of the rifle for you left-handed shooter or right-handed shooters. It's going to have a short throw lever so it gets out of the way. As for me, I'm a left-handed shooter. Even while using the rifle, especially with this BCM grip that I have on here, I don't really have an issue with grip and the safety getting in the way, and the 45-degree throw for single fire is not the worst. Honestly, on all my personal rifles, I have a 45-degree throw. It has your standard AR controls as the mag release goes, just being ambidextrous. Your bolt catch, bolt release is not ambidextrous. However, any left-handed shooter like myself, it is easy enough to just reach up and hit it, or you can power stroke the rifle as well. So for example, I have an empty mag in here. You pull it back, it locks. You can hit the bolt release, or for those of you that don't know what power stroking is, for example, index a fresh magazine, and then you can simply power stroke the charging handle to reset the bolt. Your charging handle has the ability to be moved to the left or right side. It will come installed on the left side, and I kept it here. Being a left-handed shooter, I have it on the outside of the rifle when I fire. When I get to disassembly, I will show you how to change it from left to right side. It's super easy and really isn't that bad to change it either which way. It does feature flip-up front and rear iron sights. They're your standard SCAR sights, just like the actual rifle. For your hop-up, it uses an Allen key, as you can see there behind the rail. It doesn't say it in the actual instructions pamphlet the rifle comes with. However, on the real rifle where your gas block is, how you would change from suppress to advert settings, you can actually remove this, and this can be used to adjust your hop up right there. Right is more hop, left is less hop, lefty loosey, righty tighty. We'll get into how the hop up has some issues and what I've seen to fix it. We'll get into that when we get to pros and cons. So getting into the barrel, again, it will come, especially in the American market, it'll come with your standard orange tip, and it comes with a 4.5-inch barrel extension. Here I have the aftermarket 4-inch barrel extension with a 1-inch barrel extension to cover the aftermarket barrel I put in there. However, your orange tip and your barrel extension are not glued and or pinned or have a set screw, so they will come right off. Your regular barrel that it comes with, the barrel extension and the threads directly on the rifle are 14mm counterclockwise threads, so we'll work with all of your standard airsoft barrel accessories. Something to take into mind is even your inner barrel will run slightly through your orange tip. As you can see with the aftermarket barrel I put into it, I got it just 10mm longer, which is the reason that I have an extra inch extension. It will stick through into the muzzle device, so if you plan on putting a tracer unit on it, you will have to get a longer barrel extension on there, which is one of the reasons that I have the extra extensions on there. For my tracer unit, I'm using the Ace Tech Predator Mark II, just to go straight on over the muzzle device I am utilizing. And then something that is not mentioned anywhere online when I purchased this, or that I can find a lot, is that the newer generation ones of this rifle do come with an impasse. For those of you who are new to gas blowback rifles, an impasse is essentially a adjustable valve. I've found that this rifle will cycle and fire BBs down to 250 feet per second and all the way up to 500 feet per second. You can get the impasse up to 550. However, I have found issues with the rifle cycling once you pass 500 feet per second. I find the sweet spot for this thing to work really well is 400 feet per second down to 300 feet per second. Anywhere in between that, and you start to have performance issues with the rifle, so I wouldn't go anywhere below or anywhere above that. Something I've noticed with this rifle is that it has one of the most aggressive recoils I've seen out of a stock gas blowback rifle. It's not sluggish whatsoever, regardless if you have it at 400, 450 feet per second, or you have it all the way down to 300 feet per second or 250. It is aggressive, it is loud, and it will give your presence known. Is one of the reasons that I really enjoy this VFC one compared to, for example, like the WeTech gas blowback scars. Especially as you get through with the mags, they start to get sluggish and they have low blow on them. This thing keeps up even in the colder weather. It'll still cycle. You just might see some performance issues with the rounds actually coming out. The biggest issue I've noticed is because of that heavy recoil, it will shake everything loose. You are going to have to Loctite a lot of your screws, especially your 4 that hold the stock into the rear. There's 2 on this side and 2 on the adjacent side, as well as I'm been mainly using mil-spec optics. As you've seen in my videos, if you guys watch them, or some of the clips that are coming up, I've been running a Aimpoint CCO on it, just because any of the knockoff or lower end optics I've thrown on it, the screws get knocked loose, so I have to use higher end. On the top here, in the current configuration, I have a cheap UTG riser, just because it holds up to rifle recoil, as well as a Hollow Sun 507 Charlie, just because it doesn't have the zero bounce around on this rifle. Going into it, again, with the heavy recoil, the other issue is the hop up is how the hop up adjusts. It has a piece that runs around the barrel, and as you screw it in, it pulls down on the bucking. The nice part about that is it actually comes as a flat hop unit. It's essentially already flat hopped from the factory. The downside is I've found that if you don't have it torqued down to the tightest setting, that as you fire, it will back off and you will lose that hop up. With a lot of gas guns, when there's not enough pressure on the bucking, your BBs will roll out the end. And the issue I've noticed with this one is that if there isn't any tension on the actual hop up bucking itself, you won't get the BBs flying out consistently, and they tend to just roll out the barrel or poop out like 3 feet in front of your muzzle. So To counter that, what I've done is I just torque it all the way down, and then based off of whatever FPS I'm running for the field, I'll just change my BB weights at about 400 feet per second with a 20 gram BB maxed out. For the hop up, it tends to work really well with 0.36s. And then when I have it down at 300 feet per second for indoors, it tends to work with 2.8s. However, as you get a little further out into the field, they'll tend to pop up. So 3.0s and above are kind of your bet with this thing. Some solutions that I've thought of and I've seen other people use on this rifle for that is they get a little gas valve O-ring and put it under the screw here, just so it holds tension even when you don't have the hop up maxed. For my play, I just max out the hop up and get BBs to fit whatever that hop is set to. So essentially I'm just using it as a fixed hop. For today's video, we'll just go into the basic field strip. I will be coming out with another video on this later when I get complete external upgrade parts and internal to show you what I did to modify it. As for the grip, it uses standard mil-spec grip sets. It just doesn't utilize the safety retaining pin and spring in the grip. So you can use, as you see here, I have an actual real steel pistol grip on it. And it just uses the set screw that comes with the rifle. The aftermarket ones made for AR-15s will not thread. They're not the same thread diameter or thread pitch. So make sure you retain the actual screw that comes with this, but you can put on aftermarket grips onto this rifle. It does feature your standard folding stock that most scars come with, where it friction locks into your brass ejector. And you do have 6 positions of adjustability, all the way out, all the way in, and 3 positions up on the cheek riser. For disassembly for maintenance, you will simply push this pin all the way to the other side, just the front body pin. It has a retaining clip in there to keep the body pin in place, and you simply push down and forward, getting your lower receiver out of the upper receiver and the stock assembly, followed by removing your stock down off of the rails, moving that out of the way, followed by your spring and spring guide, your recoil buffer, and then the bolt itself will pull back. This here is where you can change your charging handle from the left or right side. Simply remove it and put it on the desired side. If you would like to continue disassembly, simply remove the charging handle and pull the bolt all the way to the rear. As for wear on the actual bolt itself, you can see I'm getting some rear strikes here into the buffer, and it's starting to wrap and degrade on the bottom. None of this has had any issues with the function of the rifle, and I haven't had any problems in that, but other than normal wear and tear on the bolt, removing the finish, I haven't had any issues arise from this. For reassembly, simply reverse the process, insert your bolt onto the rails, ensuring when you get up to where the hole for the charging handle aligns, simply put your charging handle on the desired side, nubs down and up, in, and push your bolt forward to lock the charging handle into place, followed by your buffer where the rubber nub will face the bolt, drop in, push forward, and then your spring guide and spring assembly. I've noticed that it doesn't really matter what orientation, however I tend to put the whole nub to the top orientation. Once that is done, simply push your stock down on and your upper receiver is assembled back together. For the lower receiver, you will have a notch here that falls into the back of the receiver. Pushing it all the way back and then dropping the receiver forward. I found that you do have to pull the charging handle back slightly while pushing pressure down to get it all the way in place, and then simply pushing your front body pin back in, giving it a quick functions check will show that your bolt is back in operating condition. Getting into my pros and cons of the rifle. Performance out of the box, this rifle performs very well, especially if you have that hop-up set. Any deficiencies I've had with it completely stock had to do with the hop-up unit becoming unset and the BBs would just drop down out of the barrel, and they gave me some issues. Once I discovered that that was my malfunction, I didn't have any other issues with the hop-up or the BBs rolling out of the barrel. Performance-wise, with the stock bucking and barrel, I was able to get, I have a clip here that I will show where I got a 240-foot flat shot on somebody.
I got him! Holy shit!
It took a couple of rounds to get through the brush, but it will stock pop it out there. And in that clip, I had it set to 400 feet per second with a 0.20 gram BB. The only issues that I noticed is that once you get out past about 100 feet, your grouping is not very tight and it kind of spreads out. With another clip here, you see me shooting at somebody about 120, 140 feet. It's reaching him. However, you'll notice that it's starting to curve and the rounds are inconsistent. To compensate for that, I have a Maple Leaf 80-degree bucking in there and a Maple Leaf Crazy Jet barrel. For the compatibility for aftermarket parts on the barrel and the bucking, it works with anything manufactured or designed for VFC gas blowback rifles. As for the hop-up units themselves, I have been unable to find any aftermarket parts for them, as well as for the trigger group and anything else internal. External, PTS makes some other parts for it, as well as it does work with a lot of real steel parts for the SCAR. The impasse, discovering that was actually a really nice thing. The only downside is that it does not come with a tool to adjust the impasse. The trigger is slightly less for the pullback strength than an actual SCAR. It's more comparable to a mil-spec M4 trigger. The reset is solid and it has a very heavy recoil on it, as I mentioned, is one of my favorite parts about this rifle. For the cons of the rifle, it's hard to get parts, especially aftermarket repair parts. I was unable to find any on the American market. Anything I could find for it was in Taiwan and the Hong Kong market, and those took a really long time to get shipped here. I did have the air nozzle and the feeding ramp break on me, and the only way I was able to get those parts other than buying something from the Hong Kong market was to message the VFC rep. The other con that I saw with this is the build of the rifle is really nice. However, I did have some issues with the stock and the latch that holds it. I would notice that if I tried to swing a corner too hard and bump the stock or hit the stock a little too hard, you'll see it just pops out of place. At first I thought I broke it. It simply just doesn't hold that well. It is enough where like I can torque it. However, if it just gets one solid bump, that stock's folding on you. My fix for that is on my list of parts that I'm going to upgrade with this is I'm probably going to go with the PTS Masada stock that they make for specifically for the VFC gas blowback SCAR. As for solutions for that, you could probably JB weld it if you don't want the stock to fold or things along that line. And then the other issue is that a lot of the screws come loose because of how hard the recoil is. So I did end up losing one of these screws. I was able to get another one from the VFC rep, and all the other screws tend to just back off. I've used blue Loctite to Loctite them, and then anytime I disassemble further to upgrade it or fix a part, I have reapplied blue Loctite onto the screws just to keep them from backing out. That's something you'll have to do with this rifle and maintain it. Other than that, there aren't really other cons I can think. Some of my mags, as you've seen, I've lost the base plate followers on them that are here. However, they are purely cosmetic and doesn't affect it. I've dropped these mags a couple of times indoors and I haven't had anything break on them. However, on one of these mags, the housing for the BBs came flying off and I lost the follower. Again, I was able to get the parts for it, but that is a slight concern with these. So just with any gas mag, be careful dropping them. They do not free fall out of the rifle. It is a tight fit, which helps with the air seal. However, you can't just click the release. You have to actually force the magazine out. And then it doesn't have the most solid click up when you push it in. And for me being a left-handed shooter, the other release isn't the most solid click or noticeable to remove the mag. The mags are 30 round low cap gas blowback mags. I fill them all the way up and then remove a couple of rounds just to help with the loading process. The other con that I've noticed, it comes with this 200 round speed loader with your pistol adapter. I was only able to load rounds into the magazines with this adapter. I was unable to try to force them in like this. I just simply can't get the rounds to go in this way or to go into the front without that ramp that pushes the follower and the following BBs down. As for the parts that have broken on me, here's my broken air nozzle. As you can see, part of the bolt face and air nozzle actually broke off, as well as the feed ramp split into two pieces to actually load the BBs into the barrel. And then these are just assorted screws that I had replaced as they back themselves out, as well as I had this snap off here, which holds your return spring for the air nozzle into the actual bolt itself. I wasn't, like I said, I was not able to get these parts from any website. I had to contact VFC directly. However, it was a painless transition to get these parts from VFC, and I don't have any complaints about it. That's just something to take into mind, that if you have something break on this and you need a part, you're going to actually have to contact the VFC rep. So in closing for this rifle, it's a pretty solid build. The performance out of the box stock is extremely on the higher end for most gas rifles, especially for the price being around $400. You can even find it on sale for like $450. Again, I have a Faded Dark Earth version here, but it's one of my favorite gas blowback rifles, and for those who follow the channel for a while, you know that I use mainly gas blowback rifles, and this is one of my new favorites. It has the least amount of issues that I've seen. Again, with any gas blowback rifle, you get double feeds here and there, but nothing that's actually caused the rifle to stop working other than this. And I believe this was not to do with VFC its build, but I was using some test BBs from Blue Mag, which were the infrared BBs, and towards the end of it, that combined with the fluctuation in temperature from the day into the night, I do believe that it caused this to shatter. I believe this broke first and then this. However, VFC was extremely helpful with getting the parts replaced. I do not recommend contacting Cybergun. I know they did the licensing, but I hit them up as well, and they pretty much told me to kick rocks. So VFC's support for the actual consumer is really nice. With my experience with this gun, Cybergun's completely fucking useless if you're trying to get anything replaced or need help with like hard to acquire parts. They didn't even tell me to go to VFC. They told me to fucking contact e-bike, and then e-bike told me to contact Cybergun. So eventually, through some forums, I found to just contact VFC themselves. I know this wasn't the most in-depth video that you were probably looking for. However, there wasn't a lot for me to find when I went to buy this rifle, so I was just getting this video out as I get a lot of questions on my videos about my VFC Scar H. And there's not a lot that I can find other than on forums, and there's not a lot of things that are up to date and helpful. Hopefully more parts start to come out for this. Again, I will be coming out with my own video once I get acquired a noticeable amount of upgraded parts for this rifle to kind of help those that are looking for this rifle or have this rifle and are looking for any parts to upgrade it internally and externally. Without further ado though, if you guys did like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Your comments down below do help us improve our videos, so don't forget to leave anything that you can think of to improve this video, or if you like another video covering anything else on this rifle or anything else I use. Until next time guys, have a great day.